If you've got hip hop questions, I've got hip hop answers. Email me immediately in order to get your answer at d.podcast@gmail.com. That's d.podcast@gmail.com. And by the way, these aren't the best answers. These aren't the greatest answers. They're just fucking answers, ladies and gentlemen. And the email that we have here is from Sancho. Sancho says, hey, D-Respect, we live in a generation where literally anyone can be a rapper. However, there's only so many times you can make a rhyme that no one hasn't ever spat before. For example, Logic likes to repeat the same topics like the fact that he looks white. Wiz Khalifa likes to rhyme the words Taylor with favor about 1 million times per song. And Jay-Z seems to have run out of things to say after all these years of rapping. Do you think that rappers of future generations will struggle to stand out, or that they'll still always have something? I'm sorry, I'm the one that's compounding all these words in there. Or that they'll always have something interesting or relevant to say? Thank you for that email, Sancho, and I completely fucked it up. Dude, I think generations do what generations will do. And what I mean by that is the 40-year-old who maybe used to listen to Big Daddy Kane, the 30-year-old who used to listen to Wu-Tang, and the 25-year-old who grew up on State Prop. If those are casual listeners, and I feel that with most things, I mean, average is exactly that. It's average. So I think that most listeners are casual listeners. Not everybody is like you and I who listen to this stuff 24/7, 365, right? So if you have an artist today who is akin to someone whom the 30-year-old grew up on, well, that's only something that gap, that 30-year-old, that generation will be familiar with. Maybe I didn't separate it enough by saying 25-year-old, because 25 and 30 is still pretty close together, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Completely separate from the 30-year-old gap is the 40-year-old gap. The people who are akin to the person that he used to listen to will only be known to that generation. Rarely do you have people who just indulge themselves within the history of everything. So much of music is just made up of, you know, of when you were born, and you just simply listen to the music of now. Yeah, you go back into the classics and stuff like that, but no one goes back and listens to Cormega. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody goes back and listens to Corrupt. You understand? You go back and you listen to Nas. You go back and you listen to Snoop. You know, not those other, you know, poor man's artists who, you know, were from their areas, but not as popular. Most people operate like that. So what you have is this. You have cycles of, I think, things that are relevant that get underscored by the marquee artists. You know, I'll give you an example. In high school, I was on the debate team. Don't ask me why. And while on the debate team, me and my group, we would debate several topics throughout that school year. We would debate about domestic abuse. We would debate about drug abuse. Apparently, we spoke about a lot of abuse. But when it came time for competition, within that year that I was there, the topic was internet privacy. That was the assigned subject matter for the competitions throughout that year. So it doesn't matter if we were talking about anything under the sun when we were at class, when we were in class, we had to speak about internet privacy when it came time for the actual debates. Now, I say that to say this. We have albums that are distributed year in and year out. Hundreds, thousands of albums of the same subject matter over and over. But the difference that the masses get a hold of, obviously, is the subject matter that's underscored by the marquee artists. That's what quote unquote matters to people. And, you know, what's being underscored now? I mean, is it political rap? Is it the voice of the activist? Not really. Is it somebody who speaks a lot about women and cars and money? Well, to some certain extent, all those superficial things will always be popular, but that's not exactly what people are praising right now. I believe what you have that's being praised right now is self-reflection, self-evaluation. Why? Because a lot of our beloved artists, a lot of the artists that we cherish today are making so many records about their inner struggle, the decisions that they make. It's a struggle of morality. So although we've had subject matter like that possibly 10 years ago, that wasn't being underscored. You know, maybe 10 years ago, you had more music that was, you know, coming from the outside and within. You know, music that was contingent on everything outside of itself. You know, the tracks about women, the tracks about money, the tracks about cars, and to a certain extent, the political raps, which is also external as well. Right now, what you have is internal records. You have records that are coming from the inside and back out, you know, which I think ultimately is a good thing, because music that doesn't depend on what's outside of itself becomes more timeless because it's not hip. It's not what's happening right now. They're records that can be heard 20 years from now and they're still relatable. So what I'm saying is, it's not possible for anyone to run out of things to say because everything has been being said since the beginning of rap music. It's just simply that the generations, the slots of generations are aware of different things. Oh, this guy kind of sounds like that guy. Well, you know, that guy kind of sounds like this guy. Rarely do we have people who are fucking omnipresent of the whole circle. You understand? Maybe you are, Sancho. I wouldn't consider myself to be omnipresent of hip hop that went on in the 80s. You know, to a certain extent, maybe, but, you know, very vague knowledge about it. But that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that most people are casual listeners. And if that's the case, then this whole thing will just keep rolling, because it's just a dance. It's just a dance. That's all it is. It's just a dance. It's just the cycle of the same things being said over and over again. But there's nothing wrong with that, because it will be phased out. The music that's very prevalent on the great MCs that we love today, it'll be phased out, and then a new and exciting theme will start again. Will that happen in 2 years? Will it happen in 3 years? Who knows? If Kendrick Lamar's Eye is any indication of where his new album is going to go, then I'll say that since he is basically the most beloved artist right now, then the direction is going to continue going on the internal music, on the music that comes, you know, it's inward and it goes out. But I hope that I answered your question. And if I didn't, you know, what are you going to do? But you guys can always send your emails to d.podcast@gmail.com. That's d.podcast@gmail.com. If you've got hip hop questions, I've got hip hop answers.